Fashionista, I gotta be careful not to talk about like spoilers for the ending, because we tend to do that a lot.
Hey guys, this is another edition of Unger the Radar. I'm your host Randy Unger, and this is where we talk all things film. I want to welcome everyone at home watching on your computers, tablets, devices, all that fun stuff. And I want to welcome again CJ Oakland. How you doing? Been a while. Okay. Sip.
No, I'm doing good.
Good. And Michele.
Michele.
I'm never gonna get that.
It's a difficult name.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
But my heart's in the right place.
Yeah.
How are you today?
Good, thank you very much.
Good. Thank you
for
guys
the
so
invite.
much for joining. We got two films we're going to discuss today. Two very different films.
Very different, yeah.
Yes. We'll start with the first one. The one that I think is a lot better. My Friend Dahmer, which tells the story, the true story of Jeffrey Dahmer as a teen in high school before he became the notorious mass murderer, killed young men and boys, and did really horrific things. But this film kind of makes him human.
It does a good job of trying to humanize someone, but it also shows a lot of the warning signs. Like, it shows a lot that this was a person who was very isolated, and had problem connecting to people, and some of the stuff that led to that, like the stuff with his family life was very interesting and well done, and how other people reacted to him. But it also shows that a lot of this was really deep-seated stuff inside of him, that even if he was connected to people and talked to them, there's a chance they might have been able to stop him or help curb some of those influences, but he probably still would have ended up the same. It's a very interesting thing to see.
Yeah. It's interesting because it teaches you these very small moments in his life that kind of hint at the idea that there's something wrong about him. But the movie doesn't really paint a picture of why he becomes what he is.
Yeah.
It doesn't make a good job showing that progression.
Yeah.
Of him having this normal life. He's seemingly normal parents. So it's not a perfect family, but by any means. He's kind of bullied at school, or ignored, or invisible.
Yeah. They treat him like a novelty act.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But from the beginning to the end of the movie, it looks like it's just a setup for something else that doesn't really pay off.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. It's they did the Jeffrey Dahmer story, but really kind of sanitized it. It didn't go into a lot of the impulses and fantasies he had that led him to become one of the worst rapists and murderers in history, which I think was intentional, because I feel especially with the time where this movie's come out, where you have so many school shootings happening and so many violent incidents on the rise, they made a movie that was about someone where you could see the warning signs of torturing animals and how he was having trouble connecting to people, and the way he interacted, that these are warning signs that this person has something wrong with him and needs help. And I think they did it that way.
I think they just treat him like a standard high school outcast. Treat him like this guy's going to grow up to be one of the worst killers in American history.
Yeah, it's if you know the history...
It's just weird.
Yeah, if you know the history, you can see the stuff. There's little Easter eggs of, what he's going to do.
Yeah.
But it felt like it was a weird kind of prequel to a horror movie, where it's, trying to say, well, we know he's going to kill people, but they never really went into a lot of it.
Yeah.
So the movie is based on the memoirs of one of the friends who actually the Duffy or Durf.
Backdurf. John Backdurf, known as Durf.
But the movie is from Dahmer's perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of these little moments of his early life and what he was deciding whether to kill the dog or not, for example, or how he used to play with the dead bodies and carcasses. A lot of those things that hints of what he's going to be are by himself. So no one was looking at him. Well,
so it kind of guesses what he would have been like.
Exactly. So I think it would have been a much more interesting idea to see the movie from the guy who actually wrote the novel and see his interactions with Dahmer, than to follow Dahmer into something that we don't really know what. It looked, again, it's like a setup, like a perpetual first act. Where nothing really, there's no real progression or mission or objective with the same character. It's just him cruising through life.
It just follows Dahmer as a first person pretty much, but it's misleading because the title is My Friend Dahmer.
Exactly.
So that should be the friend telling the story.
Yeah, like we know some of what Dahmer was going through at the time because like he confessed to it when they finally caught him and like found all the bodies that he had. And when he confessed to it, he was saying how like in high school he realized he was homosexual. He was afraid to come out to his parents and his friends, and that's never really addressed in the movie. That part of it was that he had these extreme,
it's touched upon very
like
well.
there's one scene where you can kind of tell like, oh, there's maybe something there, but they really kind of play it off. Like he has these super violent desires that he has to repress because he knows they're not right, but they're like eating away at him. And he also has these homosexual desires that he loves men and he can't express that, and the two wind up becoming linked, and that's what leads to a lot of what he did to other people with a lot of the rape and murder and other horrific things he did. Like he had no outlet for it and he let that boil over and he never got help for it.
What did you guys think of the performances, the acting?
I really enjoyed the acting a lot. It was really good.
Yeah, he was like, I don't know the guy, like I think he was like a Disney Channel kind
Was
of
he?
star.
Ross Lynch?
Yeah, that's what I'm told. But
He goes from Disney to Jeffrey Dahmer. Okay. Natural progression.
it's I mean, it's a good thing if you want to become like an actor to be completely different. But he was believable. Like his physical his physicality was pretty convincing.
Kind of hunched over
all the time.
Very awkward,
if a little bit exaggerated at some point, but you understand that was what that we told him to do, and he is transforming into the role. He's when he makes the attacks
like I really was very uncomfortable with all the cerebral palsy jokes that's like throughout the movie. So definitely, like if you go to see it, be warned there are a lot of jokes like that. But that's what Jeffrey Dahmer did. Like I looked it up, and that was like him and his friends did was they egged him on, and he like pretended to have seizures and did cerebral palsy jokes and stuff like that.
Like they go to public places like malls and just like go crazy as a
Yeah, which I really liked how they handled that because it showed like a very infantile kind of mindset for him. Because one of the triggers Jeffrey Dahmer had was he said like he never got a lot of attention as a child and he never knew how to like interact with people. Yeah. So it's like you see one time in class he makes like a weird noise and people laughs. So he makes a weird noise again to see people laugh again, and it's like a very childish thing that I do this thing so I can get a reaction, and that's the reaction I'm taught. So he keeps doing it. Like he keeps making a fool of himself and making a spectacle because he wants that reaction. Even when people stop reacting, he just does it more and more.
That's all he knows how to do, how to be sociable.
Yeah, so that was handled very well by the film. Like, it was a very good performance.
Yeah. And Alex Wolff played the friend, Durf. He's done a couple of
I've seen him in a few things.
The thing I recognize him the most for, this was a movie from 2011 called The Sitter with Jonah Hill.
Yes, I didn't see that one, but I know of it.
It was like a raunchy remake of Adventures in Babysitting.
It was, wasn't
and
it?
Alex Wolff plays the friend of one of the babysitted sad kids. So yeah, that's what I recognize him. But he's a pretty decent actor, actually.
Everyone did a pretty good performance.
I mean, I know he is the character that that supposedly wrote the book.
Right.
It's very. It makes it look like he was actually a good friend. And if you isolate all the things that he did without the movie embellishing it a little bit, it seemed like it was a sucky thing to do. Like I don't know.
Yeah, like
at first,
the movie handled it very well. Where it's like looking at how he's like befriending this guy Dahmer and calls him my friend Dahmer, but he never really treated him like a friend.
No.
Like they said, like they were like his fan club, like they enjoyed the things he did, but you see, like he never really questions it. So the fact that this is written from the future, where it's a memoir where he knows what Jeffrey Dahmer became and how he knew this person on like a daily basis and never noticed the signs of it.
You could argue that they were just using him for the laughs.
He was a mascot. Their mascot.
Exactly. That it was not an honest friendship, and which it's doing in the movie at the end. They kind of reference it like I'm human too, but I don't know. It felt a little dishonest, I think.
Oh sure.
Maybe a little bit. It is hard to say like a story of how you knew Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah.
But this is like, it's about 1978. It was the year when he was 18 when he committed his first murder. So it's a fact that this first murder was committed 3 weeks after graduation, and this is his senior year of high school. So it's a fact that they knew him so close to when he started doing these things. And you have to see like the signs were there, but you don't notice them.
Yeah. But I mean, we're talking about it. I enjoyed it.
I very much enjoyed the movie.
I feel like it could have benefited. Sorry to interrupt.
No. I don't want to say that I loved the movie, but I really really enjoyed it. And we're still early in the year. I think this is on my top 10 right now.
I mean, well, it came out actually a year ago.
So top 10 of last year.
There you go.
But I think it would have benefited either one, if it was told from Durf's perspective, and two, if it's not, if it's going to be from Dahmer's perspective, to maybe have a much more interesting like mission, like maybe he's planning his first or I don't know. I don't wanna. But
there was like a lot.
There was not an arc for his character.
Yeah, there wasn't an arc for him becoming a killer. It was more the people around him. So it was a good drama, but it definitely wasn't a biopic of Jeffrey Dahmer. Like if it was a biopic, I think it should have included the last murder he committed. But it was very like mute on the violence. Like it didn't like it showed some of what he did with animals, but it really kind of wanted to say like it needs to be your perspective of what he becomes.
Yeah,
they didn't want to show it in the movie, which I think was a conscious decision.
If you didn't see Jeffrey Dahmer's name attached to this movie, you wouldn't see. I don't think
you would just think that it was a period piece.
And I wouldn't have liked it. Like the movie benefits itself because you know who Dahmer is. If you don't know who Dahmer is at all, then the movie is not that interesting.
Yeah, like if you go see a period piece about a 1930s art student who fails out of school, like that would just be one thing. You call him Adolf Hitler, and it becomes a huge movie.
Exactly, it's all about the name.
That's a great comparison actually, and I think they're doing that. They're doing a movie. With Boston Ramsay Bolton from Game of Thrones. He's gonna play young Hitler when he gets rejected from art school. It's interesting.
Okay, we'll look for that one.
Yeah,
but like I said, if Dahmer wasn't attached to it, like if that wasn't in the title, this would just be a standard Netflix thriller that would fall through the cracks.
Yeah, it's not even really a thriller. Like it's not a horror movie, but it kind of treats it like this is a comedy where the star will grow up to become a killer.
Comedy,
drama. There's some like drama. There's some comedy. What I'm saying is that it's treated like just a movie about teenagers, but where we know how one of those teenagers ends up, and that. You have to look at it from like another angle. So it's an interesting one.
Dramatic irony there.
Yeah, but it's definitely not meant to be like a biopic about Dahmer as a killer.
Right. That would, and I think they did it very well, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was very well handled because it's some deep, dark subject matter if they would get into it. So I think like doing a cleaner version of it, it's definitely different, but I think it was the best thing they could do for what they were doing for the movie.
And they touched on some of those gritty aspects too. Like
I understand why they made it that way.
The shack with all the dissolved animal carcasses in jars. That was pretty cool. Interesting to watch.
Definitely a very good movie, though. Like, I enjoyed how they did it. I feel like I would have enjoyed seeing a darker movie, but that's definitely for a very niche audience of people who can stomach something like that. Like, this was made more mainstream, and I think it was with the message of seeing people does anyone display signs like this? Like, I think it was made in the time it was for a reason, like, with everything going on in the schools. Like, I think it was made about seeing people who have trouble with rejection and how they interact with people and noticing some of those signs. I think that's why they did a cleaner version.
So you're saying this is sort of a commentary on what's happening now?
I definitely think there's a reason why they focused on Dahmer the way he did, where it could be like you could notice, like everyone knows someone in school who kind of acted like that, but did that person become a killer? Sometimes they did. So you have to think like the people if you see someone acting a certain way, they might need help.
And I hope audiences take that away,
Yeah, but it's tricky for the movie itself because a lot of those moments where he's acting weird or like going into psychopath mode is by himself, and we're seeing it from like this fly in the wall where we have to assume that he's doing that he's acting like that, and that's where like if we try to see Dahmer as an example of someone that we should be careful about. Maybe there's something that we could do so they don't flip into. Yeah,
there's a couple of different things you see. Like they focused a lot on how he was drinking in school. Like he was abusing alcohol and drugs to try and cope with things. Right. They saw how he was treating animals. They saw a lot of how he interacted with people. But to them, it was like comedy. Like, oh, he's just a weird kid. Yeah. They never actually thought, well, could this be something deeper? And by the time they started thinking of it, they had already grown apart and like weren't there to try and like help or support him.
Yeah, there were also a couple of characters that made it into the movie that they have no consequence whatsoever. Like the kid with long hair, his gay friend who invited to the there was no after interaction. Like they set a lot of characters up.
They briefly visited, then they move on.
Yeah. So it's not a perfect movie, but very enjoyable.
I agree. Yeah. So I'm curious, real quick, what are some of your favorite movies about serial killers? Doesn't have to be real life, but in general, maybe borderline horror films.
Seven, Zodiac.
Zodiac, Seven were both really good.
Both by Fincher.
David Fincher.
I enjoy the it's not a movie, but the Netflix series Mindhunters they came out with was really well done. Like it's about 1970s FBI agents where they're the first people to start realizing that there are serial killers. Like there was never that in history. Like there was never the focus on someone who killed people not for like a motivation, but for mental illnesses and problems that caused it, and how they were the first ones to look at these killers and start trying to classify them and help the police.
Is every episode a different killer?
It's not like Criminal Minds where it's like each episode is a different one. Like you really don't see them like solving cases for the first like almost 4 episodes, because it's about them trying to talk to police and get them to understand that there are different kinds of killers. Like there's not just people killing someone for money or for love. Like they'll just find a random person to murder them, and trying to explain to the police how this happens. And they look into a lot of different historical killers. Like, they have a couple of killers who actually existed, and they have people giving performances like that, although the FBI agents themselves are original. Like, they're inspired by real people, but not based on them.
Okay.
And that's
so
the David Fincher too, no?
I don't know who's involved in it.
I think
it has a couple. The actors are very good. I really enjoy them. But it's like if Criminal Minds actually looked at the BTK killer and tried to like investigate him and figure out what's going on. So a lot of dark subject matter that like my friend Dahmer didn't explore into, but very well done drama.
Cool. Mindhunters.
Yeah.
Cool. Favorite killers.
So well, I said 7. I think it's wonderful.
Great.
Zodiac, it's wonderful. I like Silence of the Lambs. I don't know if it counts.
Sure.
Yeah, that's
classic.
Yeah, that one's amazing. I didn't see the show, but I heard very good things.
I've heard good things of Hannibal. I haven't seen it.
I've only seen Hannibal, the movie Hannibal, and Red Dragon, which is not bad.
And Silence of the Lambs.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah, me too. Those 3. But the show apparently is with this Austrian or German actor.
Oh yeah. He was the villain in
Hans
Casino
Mikkelsen.
Royale.
Is that his name?
Mads
Mikkelsen.
Mikkelsen.
Yeah, and I love him. Like he's great.
He's a fantastic actor.
And I've seen some.
Excellent.
He's amazing,
he
right?
He's amazing. Like that guy, man. He's one hell of an actor.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there's anyone who could handle Hannibal Lecter after Anthony Hopkins, it's him.
Yeah.
I want to see the show. I just haven't had the time to sit down and see it.
Apparently, it got canceled after just 3 seasons.
Don't know about it in like a campier version, maybe.
Yeah. I don't know. He pulled it off.
I just picture him from Con Air, just being Cyrus the Virus.
Yeah,
but saying he wants to
but just eating people.
Yeah,
that's fun.
The funny thing is that Mads Mikkelsen is you get this time and age now where actors are now starting to bleed into other formats of media, video games and stuff.
Yeah,
actors are really becoming really big in video
stuff.
games now. So he's in something called Death Stranding that's supposed to be coming out fairly soon.
Yeah, him and Hideo Kojima have like the weirdest bromance ever, and I love it. Like they send messages on each other's Twitter, and people draw like fan art of them like doing stuff. Like they are the best like bros ever, and I really want to see more stuff with them.
Yeah, I saw some of the motion capture of Mads Mikkelsen for this video game.
Nice.
Yeah. And like
cool.
the renders right now, it's like his face.
Yeah, it is. It's so
and
tight.
he has so much expression in his face. He did this movie, Austrian movie or German movie, I'm not sure. The Hunt, where like this little girl accuses him of being an abuser or whatever, and the whole town is against him and starts to hunt him down, but he didn't do anything wrong. So it like and I'm not
it sounds like a
spoiling
really good
anything.
movie. I definitely want to see that one.
Yeah, it's called The Hunt and it's fantastic. He's great in that movie. So I'm curious to see the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, Silence of the Lambs for sure is one of the best serial killer movies.
Definitely. All right, guys. So I guess we're going to sadly segue into our next movie, and it's called Fashionista, and it's basically a drama thriller about a woman who's obsessed with clothing in a strange way. She's going through some marriage problems, and she gets involved with some seedy characters, and some involve swinging, I guess, and orgies. It's hard to tell what it is.
Like the movie, I can't really say that it's calling itself a thriller or murder. Like honestly, like it's not a mystery if you just have kind of a drama about these characters, which the actors do a good job. Like I like the actors for what they do. I'm fine with the drama for what it is. But then they keep putting in just some weird scene completely out of order, and they're like trying to mess with the timeline. Yeah. So it's like they just put in something weird and be like, see, it's a mystery. You don't know what's going on. It's like, no, that's not what a mystery is. You have to explain what's happening, so I'm interested in. If you just have weird things occur for no reason with no explanation, then it's just weird.
Very weird.
It's a bad script. Sorry.
I didn't write it. I'm glad.
No. Like I because we're also in the same kind of boat. Like we want to create stuff, and we're interested in see what people come up with whenever they are able to do the very daunting job of actually putting a shoot together and a crew together and cameras. Like it's an expensive medium, and there's a lot of people that work in it to make it happen. So I always want to support creators, but it's just pretty bad. It sets a lot of plot lines out, and then it plays with a timeline when it shouldn't. It brings characters for the first time that have no consequences later. It's just weird, and it doesn't.
Yeah, it's a strange movie. Like, there's no visual narrative to it. Like, it keeps trying to do different like camera tricks and things with how they handle characters and show them. That's interesting. And then it's like they will completely forget to do that and try something else. Like every 20 minutes, it tries to be a different film.
Exactly. That's a great.
If you just cut the first like 15, 20 minutes of it together as like a short film about a woman obsessed with clothes, I would have been fine with it. Because I like some of the stuff they were doing at first, like some of the camera stuff. Is that
the shots she's
she's a woman working in a
thrift store,
right. And she like loves clothing, and like that's her thing, and she's dealing with stuff going on in her life with her husband.
If they could have expanded on that,
like
obsession.
When they first started shooting it, like for the first 10 minutes, you almost never see a shot of her straight on. We always see her over the shoulder talking to other people, or we see angles like lower of her of just like the clothing she's wearing, and it shows a character who's focused more on her appearance than who she is. And we only get like a few shots of her like straight on for the face. And I'm like, that's a really good stylistic choice. I like that. And then after 15 minutes, they just kind of forget to do that anymore. And then they try doing like some other interesting camera stuff.
They lost interest in that storyline.
Yeah, like I feel like this was at the very end. It says it was inspired by the works of someone. I think like Nicholas Roeg, Roeg. I don't know who he is. I'm not familiar.
Yeah, I know.
But I think it was someone impressed with the director's style and wanted to make a movie that encompassed a lot of it. Like, I feel like a lot of this stuff might have been homages to the style of another director.
Okay.
Because he kept trying different things, which is interesting, but it felt more like you didn't focus on one thing for this movie and expand on it. You just kept switching from one thing to another. Like, it's a drama. Now there's a thriller scene, and then back to the drama.
And there's
but it
some comedic elements, too.
Yeah, like
and introduces like more people for and different settings and different situations, and it's not organic, and the dialogues are pretty campy, and I really hope that they do something after and that it's better than what this is. But
yeah, this one felt more like a reel for the director trying out different things to see what they want to do, because I think it was written and directed by the same person.
It was.
So you could definitely
Simon Rumley.
Yeah, because it's definitely felt more like a passion project of them exploring and trying different things, but
and the actors are not bad.
No, like I like some of the performances. Like the girl who plays the main girl, April. Like I really enjoyed her performance.
Fuller. Yeah, she's very good.
She did a great job. I like that they actually probably had a budget to buy all those clothes for her to wear them.
Probably.
And they had good style. Like they put effort into it.
And the sets look great, so they had to rent out people's.
The guy who plays the husband, he's an actor I know, but I didn't recognize him with that beard at all.
He's been in you're gonna laugh. It's Ethan Embry. He was in the Vacation movie, Vegas Vacation.
Yeah, he was in a couple of those movies. I'm like, I knew him by the face when I looked on it online, and I'm like, that was him.
And he was very young in it, but Can't Hardly Wait.
Yeah,
he has been in a bunch of like teen '90s comedies.
So I liked everyone in it. It's just the script didn't service them. Like
it was
didn't
just
give them
kind
a
of
lot to
floating in different directions that it shouldn't have.
Yeah,
it wasn't
hard
tight.
To tell what was going on.
Maybe we should blame the editor. I think.
I don't know, because the dialogues are pretty bad too.
Yeah, it all starts with the script.
Yeah, exactly.
The director wrote it in this way, and they probably edited it in this way. Like they wanted to have different stuff, like different kind of versions of montages and messing with time. Like I felt like the director was in charge of a lot of that, trying to be creative.
Yeah,
which I applaud him for doing stuff. Like definitely he got to explore, and I hope he learn some of what he wants to do for his next project.
Yeah, learn what not to do too.
Yeah, just in this one, there was way too much.
The scenes themselves didn't make any sense. A lot of the things were just dialogues that didn't end up making anyone any decision. Like it just
and the storyline with the bachelor, the playboy guy in the mansion.
Yeah, like it's never explained what's going on there, and
there's
that's
a scene
not
with
what a mystery is.
There's a scene with an Asian couple, like middle-aged Asian couple.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell is going on?
So it's like a party at my in-laws' house. Like, what's happening? What are all these people doing here?
There are people, and then you leave, and you're like, "What was that?" That's not what a mystery is. That's just confusion.
Nice. Yeah. So we're gonna get away from Fashionista now.
All right.
What are you guys looking forward to that's coming out in theaters? I think I know what's on your minds, both of you.
Yeah, big thing to say is Avengers Infinity War is coming out.
Of course.
Is the culmination of how many years that they've been doing it now. Iron Man came out in 2008, so 10 years later.
10 years. Iron Man was in 2008. That was the first official.
Nobody thought it would have gotten this far. Like, when they started doing it, like, people were saying they can't make Avengers, and somehow they made it work. They made an ensemble movie based on several films.
Was it Kevin Feige?
Kevin Feige.
I think he knew.
Oh yeah, like here's the thing: they did a great, smart plan for this, which no one else doing like the shared universes has copied because they don't want to seem to be copying them. But there's a reason it worked: is that he said we're going to do 4 different films. We're going to do Iron Man, Hulk, Captain America, and Thor.
Simple.
And we're just going to do those 4 and then put them together into Avengers. Which, if it didn't work, they still would have made 4 movies on their own. Hopefully, that made money. And then if they work, then we do Avengers. And after that, we leave it open and we can keep doing more. So they just said that's our experiment. It's those 5 films, which it did Iron Man 2 as well. So it was 6 films.
Yeah.
And it came together. It worked out well. And from there, that's when they started making plans.
But with the Incredible Hulk, that they didn't use Ed Norton, though.
No, because I heard there was like a lot of problems with how Ed Norton was. And it's like... That's the thing with like the shared universe is they were able to say like, well, we just segue into Mark Ruffalo, which I didn't think he would do a good job as Bruce Banner. He nailed it. He's one of my favorite Hulks.
He's
like
good.
he did
it's actually enjoyable to see him not as a Hulk but as
yeah.
And I
like him.
I prefer that.
Amazing,
I prefer Bruce Banner.
He's a very fun Bruce Banner.
Just like a regular,
he was one of my favorite parts
Joe.
of Thor 3 Ragnarok. Like,
oh my god,
was fantastic. Like that's what I wanted when they said we were going to do a shared universe. Was the idea that you could have a Thor movie and the sidekick is the Hulk who just hangs out with them. Like that's what I wanted to see, and they nailed it. Like I really enjoy that aspect of it, and it's all culminating to this. Is now they're going to do Infinity War, which hopefully it works because it's a huge freaking cast.
Now, 10 years ago, did you guys envision it to blow up this big?
I didn't think it would. I wanted to see Avengers work, and I didn't plan anything beyond that. I figure after Avengers they'll make their plans, but I just was hoping Avengers would be good, and they nailed it.
They did.
I wasn't surprised when at the end of Iron Man and then Samuel L. Jackson,
comes out and says,
"Do you want to learn about the Avengers Initiative?"
Ah, yes. That
apparently
chills,
wasn't
right?
planned.
Chill.
That wasn't
Everything.
planned. That wasn't in the script. Apparently, like when they were doing that, they said, "Hey, what if we just had this come out?" And they threw it in as a goof, and it worked.
So important.
The idea of the singers, and then after Incredible Hulk, Tony Stark walks in and says, "We're putting a team together," and people lost their minds. It was great.
Yeah.
The genius aspect of Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios before it was purchased by Disney and everything is that they're treating movies in this. It's like a decades formula, which is comic book formula.
They have a blueprint for like 15 years.
Exactly, and the interconnected universes and the team ups that their storylines, like it's just one shared universe, it has never been like that. It's been sequels, but not it's not the same as an interconnected web of movies. But that's how comic books work.
It works because they focus on the characters. Like they went really true to the character. Like when they first said let's do an Iron Man movie, they said, "Oh, let's get Tom Cruise because he's a big name star." And it's like Tom Cruise would make an awful Tony Stark. He would just play Tom Cruise.
Right.
And you started having like Jon Favreau pushing for Robert Downey Jr. and they're like, he's had a lot of troubled stuff. I don't think we want to deal with him. He's not a big name star.
Are you kidding? He's an alcoholic, like Tony Stark.
Yeah, no, like
he's an alcoholic, drug abusing womanizer, which is Tony
I
Stark.
know, it's like it was
it's like, how could he be Tony Stark? But they brought him in for the audition, and he nailed it. And that was the right foot they needed on. Was they started looking at actors who could fill the role, like Chris Evans as Captain America. I lost my mind. Like, how are you going to get the guy who plays Human Torch to play Captain America?
But then we'll overlook that.
But then he read an interview. I read an interview of him saying how he talked about this is Captain America at his core. Was this honest person put into the situation? And I'm like, he actually understands it. He can do this. And he came out ripped, and he was the character of Captain America. Like, it wasn't the look. He had the mindset of it. He's nailed it every time.
Do you follow Chris Evans on Twitter at all?
I don't.
You should, because
he does a lot of photos with fans, right?
Yeah.
Well, he does a lot of stuff like that, but this man, Chris Evans, he is one of my favorite actors in that franchise because he's not just like a guy in a suit. He's not just an actor. He really embodies all of Captain America. Like, he stands up for everything. He voices his opinions on like, but he does
a great job.
Yeah, but he stands up for like rights and human rights and stuff. Good. Like, he is 100. He's not Chris Evans to me. He's Steve Rogers.
He is really
He's doing it like Mr. Rogers, where Mr. Rogers said, "I want to be the voice of children. Like, I want to speak out to children and show them good things, but I don't want to get caught in a scandal and have that ruined like a lot of other stuff was happening." So he said, "If I'm going to be Mr. Rogers, that's who I am in real life." And then he acted that way with everyone he met. He never got involved with drugs or anything like that. Like, he was always respectful. He always practiced what he preached.
Yeah.
And that's why Mr. Rogers is such, like, an iconic thing
His
today.
sweaters were actually knit by his grandmother.
I know. Like, he was so authentic that this is who I am. I'm not just playing a character. Like, this isn't just a role. This is who I want to be to inspire people. And Chris Evans is doing that.
Yeah. I'm really happy like Mr. Rogers isn't like if it was on today, like one day we'd be like, Mr. Rogers got drunk on an Arby's and threw a chair out a window.
Yeah, he led a squeaky clean life, as far as we know. As far as we know.
No, he said, like, he did that for a reason, and I respect him for it. Mr. Rogers is who Steve Rogers would be if he never got frozen. Like, if he just became a child television person, he's like gonna wear a sweater. It's like, hello there, neighbor.
I would love to see that as an SNL video.
Oh, that would be great. Mr. Steve Rogers.
Yes,
Mr.
yes.
Steve Rogers. Actually, pretty good. That's a great beat for it.
Yeah, that's perfect, right? They're probably gonna steal it now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
They owe you $2,500.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So
Brilliant.
You can send the check to my mail.
Yes,
Thank
please. So, guys, we have about a minute. Anything you want to plug? Any websites, social media, CJ?
I still have no social media whatsoever.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still working on it. I'm trying to finish working on a script or a novel. When I get that done, then I'll make a social media to plug it. Because until then, I'm still working on it. So stay tuned.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
We'll be sure to look for that. What do you have? Anything?
Well, I'm still working on. We're very close to finish polishing this pilot that we're
Foreign
doing.
Nationals?
It's
Yes.
called Foreign Nationals. Yeah, about foreign nationals living in New York and their problems with their visa status.
Nice.
So we're close. We after we finish polishing the script and the pitch and everything, we're gonna try to film it. And hopefully this will be the place where I start plugging it whenever we have something to show.
Yes,
That
absolutely.
sounds like a good show.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. We're going to have you back. We're going to promote that a little bit in the future.
Yep.
But guys, I want to thank you so much for today. This has been amazing.
Thank you.
My recurring players here.
It's always great to come on and just find a random actor to talk about. Last time it was Idris Elba.
Yeah.
This time we talked about Matt Mickelson and
Right.
Chris Evans.
We'll see who's that. We'll see who we'll have next time. So we'll have you guys on again.
Thank you.
Cool. All right, guys. So we're gonna take a short break. We're gonna actually get into our interview segment, and this will be with it's an interesting film. Actually, it's called Little Pink House. It's a drama about a woman trying to defend her house from being bulldozed by the government. And I actually had the privilege and honor of interviewing the director, Courtney Balaker, and the subject of the film, Susette Kelo, who was actually played by Catherine Keener. So here's that interview right now. Okay, cool.
Susette Kelo's here with us as well. Hello.
Hello there. How are you guys today?
We're doing great. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
Of course.
So I saw the film last night. It was really interesting, powerful. Some of the scenes were really, really emotionally charged, and I want to congratulate you on such a great film.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what was it about the story that made you want to turn it into a movie?
Well, primarily, I just couldn't believe that this actually happened, and that a woman like Susette Kelo just did what she did, and I also couldn't believe that our United States Supreme Court would approve of something like this happening. So I was shocked, outraged, and I thought it was a compelling story, an important story, and I also knew that this type of thing still happens to this day, typically in poor and elderly and minority communities, and we hope that this film could also be a way of bringing awareness to that and trying to put an end to it.
Nice. Great. Susette, what was it like seeing your real-life story converted to the screen?
Oh, overwhelming.
All right.
They did a very nice job of depicting what happened to us. Nice job.
Nice. What was it like working with Catherine Keener? Do you think she was a good choice to play you?
I think she did a nice job, but I didn't work with her really. Courtney did.
Yeah, Susette, unfortunately, they never got to connect prior to us shooting the film. They tried and we tried, but you know, we're an independent film and our schedule was tight. And Susette Kelo worked very, very long hours as a nurse on the East Coast, and we were making the film on the West Coast.
Okay.
Yeah, so but Catherine was very drawn to the film and Susette, and felt very passionately about the story being told, and she, Susette, just the fact that Susette was somebody who wasn't looking to be in the limelight, was very humble and sometimes stoic, and most people would be pounding their fists against the wall and tearing their hair out. And Catherine really admired that her personality and how she handled everything, and very much against her will being pushed into the public eye. And for me, working with Catherine was very intense and incredible, and I learned so much, and she's just a brilliant force.
So were any other actresses considered for the role?
I mean, you always have your master list because you don't know who's available and who's going to respond to the material, but Catherine was my first choice.
Okay. That's great. What were some challenges you faced on set?
Well, for one, I had never directed a house demolition scene. I'm terrified of it. How are we going to pull this off? Because we knew we needed to demolish a real house, but we also knew that we had found our house, that the house that portrays Susette Kelo's house, and unfortunately we couldn't just ask the neighbor next door to that house if we could smash their house just for the film, so we had to shoot it on two different locations on 2 separate days. So I'd say that was the most challenging, but I feel really good about how it came out. And the challenges that any independent film has. We had a lot of speaking roles, a lot of locations, pretty short shoot schedule, but we had just a terrific team, and everybody from the crew to the actors were just really passionate about telling the story. So, they put up with those challenges, and we got our way through it.
Nice. So what was it like assembling this incredible cast?
Well, once Catherine Keener was on board, it was very easy because she's so well respected. I mean, not only amongst audience goers, but I would say even more so amongst other actors. She does projects that are just so, can be off the grid, meaning she chooses projects and roles that are meaningful to her, not just because they, are big studio films or have a lot of, a theme behind them. She chooses projects based on what they mean to her, and other actors respect that. And she takes her work so incredibly seriously. So once we had her on board, we reached out to Jean, and Jean is phenomenal, and I've always wanted to work with her and talent. But everyone was really excited, from them to some of the smaller but important roles. Everyone to work with her.
That's great. Susette, what was it like seeing all these characters recreating your story? Like, did they pull it off well? Was it accurate?
Yes, I feel they did a really good job. Everything they did was perfect. It really was.
Great. So are there any other stories that you have in your personal life that you want depicted on screen again?
No, not this one.
Okay. Nice. So it's a small film. It's a great film. What was it like on set? What was the atmosphere like? Did you hang out when the cameras weren't rolling? What was it like?
Well, we had a lot to shoot and not a lot of time. So, look, there were times that were tense. Are we going to make our days? We were pretty lucky with the weather, but, some days we weren't. It's Vancouver after all. We were just coming out. We were just going into October, where it can typically get a little rainy up there. But the set was, everybody was there for a reason. And we were one of the smaller films in town, and we were known, I found out later, as the good movie. Because there's just a lot of stuff that it's big and has a lot of money behind it, and not that they're bad movies by any means, but I think a lot of people were really excited to do something that wasn't a horror film or a big sci-fi film, something that actually had a very human element to it. So I just thought that was hilarious. But here I am, like, we're competing with Star Trek crews and actors, and we're getting this talent that's like insanely impressive, and they're like, you're a good movie.
Nice. So, speaking of different genres, do you want to just stick to dramas? Do you want to just stick to dramas, or do you want to go into sci-fi? Do you want to do some action? Like, you want to diversify your talents in terms of genres?
Well, I used to produce horror films for like 6 years.
Oh, okay.
And that's my background as a producer, and then I went into television, did like PBS and stuff like that, and then I went back to direct. So this is the first time I directed a feature. I directed plays and sorts. I love great stories. I wouldn't shy away from a horror. There's some great, wonderful work being done in horror right now.
Right.
From Get Out to A Quiet Place. Right. So it's more like the genre that I like the horror genre that's more thriller, psychological based than just slash them up. I'll never make another slasher movie again. It doesn't make your soul feel very good.
All right. So I'm curious, what do you hope audiences take away from Little Pink House? Hello?
Sorry. I want the audience to walk away feeling and knowing that what happened to Susette and her neighbors was wrong, that it destroyed lives, that it took tremendous tolls physically, financially, emotionally. I want people to know that what Susette did was completely out of her comfort zone. She didn't want to be the face of something, but she did it anyway because it was the right thing to do, and that's what people need to do when they're faced with any challenge or or their freedom or the property being threatened. If people don't feel that way, I would at least want them to start a conversation. What happened to her right? Is it okay to take someone's property so that a wealthy corporation can benefit from it?
Right.
Even if it creates tax revenue, even if it helps the economy, is that the right thing to do? So we live in pretty polarized times right now, and my hope is that this can unite some people. I mean, when this decision came out in 2005, about 85% of Americans on both sides of the aisle thought this was a horrible decision. And unfortunately, this film is very timely, given our current president, who at the time of the Kelo decision was her most famous opponent and literally said, "I love eminent domain abuse." He thought the decision was great. When we made this film, if you had told me that her most famous opponent would be our next president, I would have laughed you out of the room, but here we are. And the conversation of eminent domain is starting again, as we talked about what's going on with the border wall and things like that. So I really hope that people walk away saying this cannot happen again, and I hope people want to get involved, and they can do that by going to our website, littlepinkhousemovie.com. They'll see we open in theaters this Friday, April 20th, and you'll see all of the different cities we'll be in, 40 counting, which we're really excited about. But there's also a tab where you can get involved. What can I do? How can I be involved in the Impact campaign to bring awareness to this issue called eminent domain abuse and try to put an end to it?
That's great. I just want to know, what advice do you have for aspiring filmmakers out there?
I would say if you want to be a writer-director and you don't have a lot of work under your belt, write what you feel passionate about. Don't try to be another writer or director. Write what you are comfortable with and you feel very intimately. And you can start small with shorts. I would suggest making a few shorts, not with the intention of making a lot of money off of them, but with the intention of basically practicing the skill set.
Okay, great. Well, Courtney, I want to thank you for a fantastic film. It's It's a great movie. I think everyone should see it. It's a very important topic. Susette, I want to just thank you and commend you on what you've been through and what you stand for. You're really you're a hero, and a lot of people a lot of people, they're going to see this film and they're going to see the hero in you, and it's really admirable.
I just would like to add that Ted and Courtney did a tremendous job with this film, and last night was the opening night for this movie at the Guard Theater in New London, Connecticut. 1,400 people came. Every seat was sold.
Nice.
And I don't feel that there was one person that didn't leave there with a greater understanding of what really happened to us in that battle.
All right. Well, you came through it, and you're continuing to fight. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So the film's it's a Little Pink House. It's great. Go see it. I've been your host, Randy Unger, and it's been Unger the Radar. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks, Randy. Have a good day.
Thanks. You too. Take care. Bye.
All right, guys, that's our show for today. I want to thank everyone again for watching, and also I want to mention a little something that the journalism publication, The Intercept, has comes a new 3-part audio play called Evening at the Talk House. It's from award-winning actor and playwright Wallace Shawn of The Princess Bride fame. Inconceivable. Also, My Dinner with Andre and Rex from the Toy Story trilogy. The play also stars Matthew Broderick, Larry Pine, Jill Eikenberry, Michael Tucker, John Epperson, Claudia Scheer, and Annapurna Sirium. And following its limited off-Broadway run as a live theater piece directed by Scott Elliott, this audio drama is now available in 3 30-minute acts starting today via a partnership with the podcast Intercepted with Jeremy Scahill. And you can access that at theintercept.com/talkhouse. And check it out. It should be really cool. And also, we've got something extremely big happening in New York City right now. The Tribeca Film Festival, happening right now through April 29th. And next week, I will be discussing the films I've seen, and also you'll be hearing some interviews I've had with some actors and filmmakers. So again, I want to thank everyone for watching. I'm your host, Randy Unger, and this has been Under the Radar. We'll see you next time.